Good day and welcome to my very first World of Warcraft review video, basically. Uh, and so I'm going to review the leveling experience between levels, 10 and 20 for me. Basically, I'm at level 21 now, and I'll show you guys kind of how it started, and I'll chat a little bit about the process. Obviously, World of Warcraft's kind of had to redesign its leveling structures quite significantly over the years. So now you choose an expansion and you kind of play your way through that expansion. I myself played or am playing a newer race. So I'm playing a Void Elf, which is one of the newer, races that they've brought out, which have been undeniably pretty cool. I do like the new races. I decided on Void Elf because I wanted to play Alliance on my server, and I do enjoy Alliance, and I just wanted to give it a try. So to clarify, I do play on an RP server. I find them to be a bit more alive than most other servers, so I find them to just carry a natural, higher retaining population. Uh, Also, most other areas sometimes we'll have people RPing in them, which kind of keeps the rest of the game feel more alive. So basically, I started my Void Elf. They started level 10 for some reason. I googled it, and it seems like it's a thing to do with their starter zones. So them and a lot of the other additional races that have been added in, um, they have starting zones that kind of auto clear now. You don't get to play through them, which I think is a bit of a shame from a story aspect. And essentially, yeah. So I played, started at level 10, and you get sent to here, and you get to kind of choose what you want to do. So here you can choose essentially what expansion. Here, this is obviously Warlords of Draenor. We've got here in Edge's Mountains. This is Burning Crusade, I believe, and we have Chromie's Call, which is just fighting around Azeroth. The Chromie's Call seems like kind of the stock standard kind of way to take on the game, I guess. You also have this guy who will give you BFA, obviously, which is something you can do if you take one of these. So if I'd say take Battle of the Ogres, and I take it, then another one will pop up. And if I say enter the dark portal, and I click OK, then another one will pop up like Jade Forest. So like you can cycle through whatever you kind of want to do, and you can switch at any given time, which is pretty cool overall. Um, so for me, in terms of story, I decided to play Legion, mainly because Legion was, probably one of the best expansions in the game. But also, I just remember Legion's leveling areas quite well. I remember playing the game quite well, and I really wanted to enjoy that area. I took a mage, uh, for the sole reason of I haven't played mage in forever, and the only mage I ever got to a higher level was a human one in Legion. So I thought, let me make a void elf, and let me play through Legion as a void elf, and then eventually through Shadowlands, etc. Now I know if you start with the Warcraft for the first time, I think they make you play BFA. So I think you have to play BFA uh, as a quest. Um, so I think you have to do BFA first. I'm not going to do this main quest. Instead, I'm going to do some side questing while I just kind of talk about what's going on. I stream the main quests and everything for the most part. So if you ever want to see stuff like that, you're welcome to. But I do stream those quests, so you can watch those. In terms of the leveling experience, it's okay. It's very quick. I think if we go to my playtime, I've played 3 hours and 5 minutes, and I'm level 21. So that's roughly 11 levels in 180 minutes, and I've been taking it very, very slow, which I think, is kind of expected almost in World of Warcraft nowadays, to be speedy. Like the game is, the leveling process at least is very quick. I think it's better. I think choosing your expansion is good. I think what they definitely could do is if you don't, let's say you do choose Legion or you do choose Pandaria, I think they definitely could do with like a recap of some kind, even if it's just playing all the cutscenes in a row, or maybe just having like a soft recap storyline. I think that would really aid players, because it's great for me to go back to Legion, but can you imagine starting the game for the first time and you have to go do BFA and you just have no idea what's going on? Like, I think having some kind of soft recap would do very well in assisting the game and kind of just making the experience a lot better, um, a lot smoother, a lot more streamlined, and just a lot more enjoyable overall. Like, I myself, I love World of Warcraft. I've always enjoyed the game. So for me, it's easy to get back into. I understand the lore. I'm a lore kind of guy. I know the characters. I've played Warcraft 1, 2, 3, Heroes of the Storm for a bit. I've played Diablo games, like all the Battle.net games, everything. World of Warcraft, I'm very attuned with the style of the game. But it's, yeah, I think they definitely could improve on that. I think that's probably where the game is, you know, at its weakest, I would say. Now, in terms of leveling, at least specifically referencing Legion leveling, um, leveling in Legion is pretty smooth. You get your mount pretty early on if you're playing. I don't know what it's like on every class, but I got one straight away. So you have your mounts, you have access to speed, which is pretty good. Um, and the questing experience is pretty straightforward. Legion is nicely and streamlined. It's got chapters, and those chapters are very clearly demarcated. I heard that they have changed this in other expansions, and they will be switching um, expansions, I think, throughout the leveling process just to kind of assess the beginning of every expansion. It may not sound like the best process, but I feel like it is for the best. Like, so my next stream, I'll probably be starting Warlords of Draenor and just assessing what that's like as a game and seeing where we go to from there. Because I think it's important to assess the beginning of areas as well, like, and whether they're enjoyable and fun. Legion was pretty good. Legion was pretty fun. I chose Val'sharah as my area, and Val'sharah's storyline was very neat and compact. It took me about 2 hours to do. It was very smooth. The experience was good. Legion was a very good leveling experience, though, with the zones being very well laid out for exploration and just for straight exploration. The class hall and everything was very strong, very powerful. The game itself, played pretty smooth. I did, um, I did enjoy the whole class hall system again. Obviously, it was, you know, pretty enjoyable. It's nice to have the class halls. They do help you feel a lot like you have a lot of prevalence in the game, which I think is really good, and is something that a lot of people really enjoyed about Legion, so to say. So I think for me personally, um, yeah, it was definitely a good experience from the off. Started off very strong, cutscenes were very good. The gameplay in terms of the leveling and the spells for mage were okay. Um, it was a little bit slow. You don't get a lot of abilities to begin with. Your rotation is very, very, very straightforward. I have some CC, I have some AoE abilities, and I have some single target abilities. Your goal is to build charges, and then with those charges, you basically basically do damage to the enemy. So like I build up these little charges under my character, and then I expend those charges to deal damage. The gameplay is very simple, very smooth and very enjoyable, but very, very simple. It hasn't changed. The talent system hasn't changed. It's all touted for Dragonflight. So if you are looking forward to those type of things, it's just not there right now. Other than that, everything was pretty smooth. Smooth is the operative word for World of Warcraft, I think, at this point in time. The leveling experience is smooth. The gameplay is smooth. It's not a hindered experience. You can pick it up and go. It's quick, it's fast, it's streamlined, it's efficient, and it's enjoyable. That is talking from an experience of starting with a Void Elf and starting Legion, also coming from a player who's played Legion multiple times. We'll see how it changes when we start just having other experiences from other expansions, but I think Legion was a good indicative. I think a lot of the later expansions, Warlords of Draenor, Legion, those will all have they have good voice acting. I mean, here you can see there's a bit of voice acting. It's very, very enjoyable. Obviously, lots of side quests have some good lead-ins, and so I think a lot of these will be very, very solid. In terms of like the other expansions, we'll have to see. Is it going to be super enjoyable? Is it not? Where are the difficulties going to lie? Now, full disclaimer, I am using heirloom gear. So heirloom gear does make life a little bit easier. It's not too crazy because the gear that actually drops is a lot of the times equal to your heirloom gear. So for example, my gear is now sitting around item level 25. And if you look there on my character, I recently picked up a pair of boots that are level 23. So the gear that drops or the gear that drops from quests is very similar. Heirloom gear does give you some buffs. The only XP related buff is rest XP consumption goes down. And when I level up, I gain some additional benefits as well, like an explosion and things like that. Otherwise, other than that, it's more just a convenient way to not have to take gear on and off, which I think is something that's good, but I don't think it's something that's necessary. I don't think it's impacting my gameplay to the point where I would say, this is definitely a different experience to what other players will probably have. In terms of the minutiae of questing, quests are very easy. Very straightforward, very easy. Not hard in any way, shape, or form. As you can see, I'm not really struggling at all. I'm not really having issues. It is what it is. I think when you play these kind of games, you need to accept that the leveling experience is a journey now, and a journey of more timid understanding of the game. These MMOs have gone on so long that leveling doesn't represent a good representation of the end game of any of these games. Final Fantasy, the first 30 levels are terrible. Anyone can tell you anything, everyone acknowledges it, they always say, get past the first 30 levels, it will be very, very good. And World of Warcraft, not necessarily the same. I think they give you a bit more in the beginning. The gameplay, because of the GCT and that, is a lot faster. Whether that's better is very difficult to say. Right now, I'd honestly put it on the point of saying that for the beginning leveling experience, it is slightly more enjoyable. Just because the abilities rotate through faster on the gameplay side. The nice thing about Final Fantasy in comparative is Final Fantasy has the big collective. It has the big story that keeps you going, that keeps you monitoring, that keeps you interested in the game. And I think that's something that's, World of Warcraft can never really have. It would require a complete redesign of the game, and it's just not something that's possible. That being said, they definitely can do better. And like I said, that aforementioned tying up of loose ends, setting up a way for people to enjoy the game to a certain extent, get a brief rundown of each expansion or some cutscenes or something, it would help. And to say it wouldn't help is silly. And I think it's something that could easily be implemented, and it's something that could very easily improve quite dramatically the way people play World of Warcraft. It'll make the story make more sense. People immediately will feel more tightly tied to the storyline, to the game modes, to everything involved. And yeah, I just think it will be more enjoyable. That's not to say that currently what they do isn't much more improved. Since I last played World of Warcraft, it's a much better system. Being able to choose where I want to go, especially as an experienced player, is much better. It's way better than replaying BFA 1,000 times over. It's way better than trying to speed level through just dungeoning. I mean, that was back in the day. You used to just put on heirloom gear and you used to just dungeon for about a whole weekend, and then bam, you're max level, and that was it. You could finally start playing the latest expansion. And that's not good gameplay. That's not good game design. It's not enjoyable. This is better, but it could definitely be improved. Whether they will continue to improve on it is something that I think is difficult to evaluate right now. Hopefully, they continue to improve on it. Small changes, a lore book, a cutscene, introductory story lines would all help. Everything else, can improve the game, but isn't entirely necessary. I think ability-wise, they could also do with speeding things up. I know it sounds even worse to say, but they could condense the levels even further. Hopefully, the new skill trees that they come out with will help out. Because right now it's better, but it's definitely still lacking improvement. And you still get a lot. I mean, the rotations and that, I can still see where my rotation is heading. I'm getting some utility abilities mainly, but I'm not necessarily getting greater moves, getting some instant casts. I'm getting some things to rock off on cooldown. But a lot of my synergy is going to come from talent selections, where I pick up more spells and abilities there, and just from hopefully systems that are implemented in Shadowlands. I wonder to what extent their reevaluation and their changing of other gameplay features will happen in Dragonflight. But right now, I would say tentatively that the combat is serviceable, if anything, for a leveling experience. Is it riveting? Not really. Is Final Fantasy's riveting at this point, which I would say is comparatively probably level 10, I guess, would be the equivalent because of just the speed and everything. I would say, probably about the same, honestly. Final Fantasy does also struggle from like 3-button combos pretty much up till around about level 20 or so. Or once you access your switch over your first soul gem, I believe it is, then things get a little bit better for sure. But yeah, it's definitely comparable. I would say they're about as equally enjoyable. Like I said, World of Warcraft's gameplay loop is just more speed and rewarding. You channel through the levels faster, so you feel like you're making progress faster, whether that's false progress or not. It is what it is. Legion's story was captivating enough for me to stay engaged, and presented enough for me to stay engaged, and so that was enjoyable. Yeah, I look at Legion and I'm having a good time. That's all I can really say for now. I will move probably back to Warlords of Draenor next. For my next kind of section from levels 21 to about 30-ish, and then probably experience that, and then I'll move maybe into Pandaria, and then I'll probably choose one of the older expansions to really kind of settle through. I played BFA, and I don't feel like it'll be necessary or conducive to kind of run through. A lot of people gave it a lot of negative flack. I found it to be average, and I don't think running through it again for leveling is going to change any opinions on that. But that is it. That's kind of where we're at with that. So, yeah, I think right now I would say tentatively my experience has probably been a, let's tentatively call it a 5.5 out of 10 on the leveling. I know that sounds pretty low, but honestly, I would give my same experience in Final Fantasy up to this point about a 6 out of 10. The first 3 hours in Final Fantasy are about as good as this, about the same. Final Fantasy's story really picks up around level 30. You get your soul gem, it really improves. You get a lot going, and the game does rapidly ascend. It's a kind of game that hits a 6 and then jumps to like an 8.5 and then kind of just continues from there. So that's a very good thing about the game. Once you fight through the initial slog, it continues to up its stakes, up its momentum, and really pick up pacing. Whereas World of Warcraft, based on this so far, we're sitting at the same point. It'll be difficult to say. It could also be mage. There's a lot of different other factors that go on. But right now, like I said, I give it about a 5.5 out of 10. It's enjoyable. If you are re-leveling as an experienced player, it's a very smooth, organized, cohesive system. If you are coming as a new player, it's probably quick enough for you to not notice any form of pain, if that's the worst term to use. But no, I think it's um, definitely possible for you to enjoy World of Warcraft as a new player, and I think you definitely can enjoy the game. Um, like Legion's a very strong example, so I thought I would start off with Legion, and I think Legion's a very good system to run through and enjoy. So now that I've started with the strongest, and it's been a good start, I think I'll start progressively moving back and just restarting every single expansion and going from there. So Legion, good for the first 10 levels. We'll next do Draenor, and then that'll be 10 levels. Take us into the 30s. We'll go to Pandaland till we're in the 40s, and then we'll finish up just by starting like the very first quest lines in Elwyn Forest. And then we'll see how we go there. But yeah, cool. So thank you guys for watching. It's been pretty cool to obviously do this. It's a new kind of video for me. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. But until then, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you guys next time. So bye.